Well, good evening, Michael.
Right, greetings to you, Richard, from the Isle of Man. So, go. This is our opportunity to review the coronation.
I know it's been a week since the coronation, but it's still it's still very fresh in the mind. One is reminded of those words of Pepys about how he thought he would not see the like again in this world, and you can see why. Well, I certainly can anyway.
Well, I have actually been to London for a flying visit,
Oh gosh.
and I got a ticket to go into the Abbey because it was still last week, still set out for the coronation. It had the St Edward's chair at the front, those two chairs of estate and the two thrones, and rare opportunities to see the stone of Scone still in the coronation chair.
Oh.
And at the back of the Abbey, or rather the front, I suppose, the West End, you could see the anointing screens. That was quite exciting. And I had a trip over to Lambeth Palace, and the Coronation Bible has just arrived.
Oh right.
And I was allowed to actually have a look at it because I said I got a question about whether it had the Apocrypha in or not, and they let me have a look. So I'm delighted to say it does. So it would count as a whole and complete Bible as far as the Church of England's concerned.
Oh you seem to have had a far more exciting post coronation week than I have. I spent my post coronation week somewhat recovering from all of the excitement and village activities. You will notice in the background my Union flags from the village picnic on the Monday, which had to be taken into the village hall due to the rather inclement proposed weather that we expected. So, but no, certainly in Leicestershire, we had a very full and exciting weekend of events. So we certainly had a good time. Yes, but what about the coronation itself? I suppose it took maybe 2 hours, and we could probably sit here for 2 hours talking about things that we noticed. Probably, what were your main impressions?
I was quite uplifted by parts of it. I mean, I was glad that they left most of the symbolism intact within it. I think you do need an annex at the Abbey, for everyone to gather. But I think it was less effective at being a bit bitty with different processions. And that meant the cameras were jumping from inside the Abbey to outside and backwards and forwards. You didn't get that seamless procession you got in 1953.
No.
I think that would have been better. I understand we had to do it differently because they hadn't built an annex for everyone to gather in, but I think that would have improved it.
This is that annex is that sort of extension that they built certainly in the 20th century. I don't know if it went back further than that, for everybody to arrive in and prepare themselves.
Yes, I mean, because we've got the footage of 1953, you can see that sort of seamless procession, and it meant that Dimbleby, when he's commentating, could go through everybody in it. We didn't get quite that same sort of vista this time, and I think I regret that because we missed so much of who was coming in and carrying what, because it was a bit more rushed, or we were going back outside to see the King and Queen arrive, which meant we missed what was going on in the Abbey.
I suppose these are the pitfalls of the modern digital age, and everything has to be seen at the very moment that it's happening. I suppose perhaps on a light-hearted note, I would observe that perhaps the takeaway message from this coronation was we need to spend more time practicing putting crowns on people's heads. I thought that bit, especially with all of the close-ups, was just a little tortuous, and you just stood there holding your breath to say, is it going to be there? And that moment when the Archbishop of Canterbury sort of leant down and said, is it on or not? Yes.
Yes, I think it was unfortunate that there was a close-up on that. I mean, perhaps very sensible of him to try and actually get it right and adjust it. But it would have been better if it had gone on seamlessly.
Yeah.
But there's the odd moment in it when I perhaps think it could have done with just a little more polish, and one wondered whether something had been amended for deliberate reasons or accidentally left out. I found it a bit odd that the king kissed the outside of the Bible, whereas traditionally they'd have opened it up at one of the Gospels. And I felt, something of the symbolism was lost there. It made it look more like a closed book rather than an open one.
Book. Yeah, and I think there were some. I mean, obviously there was that famous last-minute wording change, but I did notice the odd last-minute change from what I believe I had read in the service that was released the week before. The Bible was no longer the highest this earth affords. There was another verb that was used. So there definitely were some late-minute amendments going on.
Yes, I wasn't sure whether that was somebody slipping up or they'd decided they could improve on the text in front of them.
Yes. I suppose. Well, I suppose we may never know some of these things. I suppose.
Now, I know opinions are mixed on this, but I quite enjoyed having music with some of the words in a sotto voce way going on, particularly with the presentation of the sword. Now, I found it heightened the symbolism for me, but I think others think it would have been better if we'd heard the words more clearly. I did find it surprising we did not hear the words for the anointing, and it was just Zadok the priest, and it was all behind the screen, at that point. Now it was quite dramatic, but I was expecting to hear the words, so it suddenly had finished before I realised it had finished.
Yes, I felt exactly the same thing, and I think yes, somehow not hearing some of the words had an impact on me. As you say, I think we saw that it was almost as if you blinked and you'd missed the anointing without actually knowing it was going on, which I thought was a shame, really, seeing as it is a central point of the one of the central points of the whole ceremony. Well, I'm sure we've, well, as I said, I'm sure we could ram it on for hours on this subject. Sorry, talk eloquently for hours on this subject, Michael. But perhaps we better leave it there, and maybe there'll be another few thoughts later in the week on what we thought about the coronation.
Well, I think we'll have to talk about vesture at some point.
Right. Okay. Well, I shall look forward to speaking to you soon then, Michael.
All the best. Good night.